Cossack massacres. And after that, you had the Great Plague and Fire in London in 1666. And of course, 666, all the Christians were waiting for terrible stuff to happen. Messiah came. Well, London burned down. The other thing was that the Jews all over the world were extremely demoralized. And when Jews are demoralized, that's when you get false messiahs. So along comes this very gifted young man from Smyrna. That's Izmir in Turkey, but at the time I think Smyrna belonged to Greece. And he is a Kabbalist, and he's also a great scholar. And just to make life more interesting, he's also a serious manic depressive. And this is long before they had any medication for bipolar, other than go upstairs and lie down, you'll feel better. But anyway, what happens with Shabtai Tzvi is that he passes himself off as a Messiah, because the Jews needed Messiah to cure them after all these terrible things, the massacres and this and that, and the plagues and whatnot. And he had a wonderful secretary. Nathan? No, Nathan of Nemirov was the Berdichev's secretary. Different guy. Okay. I can't remember his name. I think something with a nun. Anyway, this particular secretary of his is sending letters all over the civilized Jewish world, and the Jews are literally packing their bags and getting ready to move to Israel because Shabtai Tzvi has been making slow but steady progress, leaving from Turkey, crossing the Mediterranean, on his way to Israel. But first he's got to confront the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire. And everybody's waiting for this great collision between the leader of the Muslim world and the leader of the Jewish world. So Shabtai Tzvi gets to the Sultan, and the Sultan says, I'm going to make it really easy for you. Either convert to Islam or I'll kill you. And Shabtai Tzvi, you know, he was manic depressive, but he was no fool. He waited 3 days, and then he said, okay, I'll convert to Islam. And he put on the green turban, because back in those days, if you converted, you had to wear a green turban. So maybe that's sort of a holdover in Tzfat, because Tzfat is still a very mystical city. And also a great place to talk to dead rabbis. When Enbeth and I were there in '83, we had a particular request, and we went to the, was that? No, it was Tiberio, it's Tiberias, but it was the same thing in Tzfat. We found this shriveled little old Yemenite caretaker of the cemetery. It doesn't pay much, but it's steady work because you don't have to do anything. You just stand there all day and look at the graves. And they're all mausoleums. See, Florida has nothing on those. But those were set into the ground. See, in strict Judaism, you're not supposed to have these duplex mausoleums like we have. They're supposed to be set in the ground. And we told this aged man we had a particular favor to ask, and could he steer us in the right direction. And in 2 minutes, we were standing at the sepulcher, the mausoleum, of this really high-powered rabbi. He was a miracle worker. He was such a great miracle worker that after he died, and you figure, you know, after a rabbi dies, it's like enough already. He was still working. He was still doing his job. So we left a little note on his sepulcher, and I didn't know whether to write it in Hebrew or English, but I ended up writing it in Hebrew and left it there. And I didn't want to read other people's mail, but he had a lot of notes on his mausoleum. This one was leaving university, and this one was sick, and this one had to have an operation. Very sad. But that's the tradition in Israel, where you have all these wonder rabbis who, even after they've shuffled off this mortal coil, are still hard at work. Okay? Anyway, thank you for coming. The Torah